Hi, everybody, and welcome back to our second perek in the Sefer Devorah. We actually did a live recording with the women in our group, and then we weren't able to retrieve the recording, and Fagi graciously is sponsoring this second recording done privately in my studio because she really wants all of you who are tuning in now and want to learn and want to grow. So thank you, Fagi Ashkenazi. May it be a tremendous merit for you and your family. And everybody that is watching now, take a moment to say your full name in Hebrew. May it be a big schus for you to be learning the Sefer Devorah and open just the channels of tremendous blessings and abundance. Okay. So last week, we learned about the first attribute of Hashem's mercy, and that was Mikel Kamecha. And what does that mean? It means that at the very moment that the person is sinning, Hashem is still allowing him to use his limbs to actually do the sin. So there is this person in Eretz Yisrael who is a painter. His name is Mashiach, and he's known to be an excellent painter, and he has quite a waiting list. He's known to be very honest. He does excellent work, and he's not expensive. So a woman reached out to him and said that she has a villa up north, and she would like for him to come and paint the villa, but on one condition. The condition was that she was going to be traveling. She didn't want to be busy with it. She was reaching out specifically to him because of his reputation, because she knew he would do a great job. She said, don't call me, don't text me, don't ask me any questions. Come, do your job, and leave. I'll send you full payment. I'll send you whatever you need on the condition that you don't bother me at all. So they agreed on a price. They agreed on the date that she was going to be leaving for her extended trip. And she left him the information how to get into the villa. She told him which paint store she would be leaving the paint. She was going to be choosing the paint. He should just pick it up directly from there and then do his job. Okay, so that's what happened. A few weeks went by and he traveled up north and traveled to the villa and got in to the door and saw just the most magnificent building. It was spacious and roomy and full of light, and it was so beautiful. So he put down his supplies and then went to the paint store to go get the paint. And as the painter brings out the cans of paint, he looks at them and he's like, there must be some mistake. There are dozens and dozens of cans of paint and they're all in the same color, black. And he's like, it's not possible. Why would she want me to paint her magnificent villa in black? This cannot possibly be. But he's in a real dilemma over here. He can't call her. He can't text her. That was the condition that she gave him the job. So he's like freaking out, not knowing what to do. And he's like, okay, I guess this is the paint that she chose. I guess this is what I'm going to use. And he takes home those dozens of cans of black paint to the villa and starts to paint. And he's covering these gorgeous walls in black, room after room, the bedrooms, the bathrooms, the kitchen area, the dining area. And he's doing a good job because that's what he does. But he's like, oh, who would do this? And he just can't wait for the job to be over. And he finishes up. It takes him a couple of weeks. He looks back at this beautiful villa that had been so vibrant and now is all black. And he just loads up his truck and he can't wait to be out of there, as far away from this dark black villa as possible. A couple of weeks later, he gets a phone call. And it's this woman, and he is not answering the phone. She is probably back and is fuming, but she keeps on calling and calling, so finally he answers. And she says, hi, so, you did a really great job on my villa, and I have another property that I'd like for you to paint. And he's thinking to himself, are you kidding me? So they make up a time, and he travels up north again. And she says, I have this like garage, and I think I want to convert it. And, while you're here, do you want to come see what the villa looks like? And he's like, yeah. He's dying to see what that villa looks like. So she opens the front door and they step inside. And he stands there and he can't believe what he sees. It's magnificent. The colors in the room look so vibrant against the black walls. The crystal chandeliers, the gold, the gorgeous purple, deep, rich velvet curtains, the chairs and their patterns and their colors. All of a sudden, it looks magnificent. And he looks at it and he realizes that it's only against the black that everything can pop out so much and look so beautiful. My friends, a few years ago, I went through a tremendous challenge in my life. And Baruch Hashem, I've been blessed with a happy nature. And for the first time in my life, I saw what depression looks like. And I fought so hard not to go there, not to fall into this darkness and emptiness. And I did everything possible. I felt like I was hanging off a cliff, hanging by my fingernails, determined not to fall into that darkness. I forced myself to get out of bed in the morning, to get dressed, to put on makeup, to go out. I forced myself to meet with my friends, to meet with my beloved family. I forced myself to make food and not to crawl into bed, which is all I wanted to do. It took so much strength. And in those weeks where I was right there, right at the edge, the compassion that people showed me against this darkness was so vibrant. Kind words, compliments, smiles. I needed it so badly. And it took every ounce of strength for me not to crawl into that dark hole. I was seeing a therapist, and aside from that, I was also in group therapy. I was exercising, I was eating right, I was doing all the right things, and yet it was so hard. I know what it's like. I was almost there. How many of us are grappling with darkness? How many people in our lives that we don't even know have such darkness in their lives? And you know what they need? They need our pop of color against their darkness. And when we can show extra compassion, extra love, extra warmth, not judging, just being there for them, how much more vibrant it is. So moving on to Midah Beis, Nosei Avai. He bears sin. Page 20 of the booklet. This attribute is greater than the previous one. With every sin that a person commits, a destructive angel is created. As our sages say, a person who commits one avera acquires one prosecutor. And that prosecutor stands before HaKadosh Baruch Hu and says, this person created me. Nothing can exist in this world unless it is sustained by the life force that Hashem provides. So the destructive angel now stands before Hashem. How is it going to be sustained? It would be fair for Hashem to say, I don't support destructive angels. Go to the person who created you. Let him support you. When we do an avera, when we do a sin, we create a destructive angel. That malach now owns a very powerful force that can cause pain, suffering, or death. And it can be destroyed in only one of three ways. Number one is a person does tshuva. And when a person does tshuva, the sin and the destructive angel are completely eliminated. Let's quickly review what the 4 steps of tshuva are. Number one is sincere remorse, regret for the sin. Feeling really sincere regret. Number 2 is stopping the sin or the harmful action. So say, for example, you're addicted to a show Dancing with the Stars, and you feel that sincere regret, and you know it's not good for you, and you know you should be doing other things, and you want to stop, but you don't, that's not sincere tshuva. You need to stop the action. You need to stop the lashon hara. You need to stop whatever it is that you're doing, that very unhealthy relationship, whatever it is, in order to do sincere tshuva. So number one, sincere remorse. Number two, stopping the action. Number three, oral confession. You need to verbally articulate the mistake. You need to verbally ask Hashem for forgiveness. And number four, you need to make a resolution. I don't want to go there again. I don't want to be doing this. What can I be doing instead? Make a commitment and figure out a way that will prevent you from doing that again. So again, a destructive angel can be destroyed in one of three ways: when a person does tshuva, if a person gets punished in this world, and if a person gets punished after death. The Ramak tells us, the author of the Sefer Devorah, that even though there are three ways for a destructive angel to be eliminated, with people we only have two options: to do tshuva, and that the problem gets resolved in another manner. There's no mention of us punishing the offender, us unleashing our pent-up destructive energy, because retribution is not in our domain. That's in the hands of Hashem. So when we have been wronged, it's not our job to punish the offender. Our job is to seek solutions on how to handle the situation and not to avenge. There is nothing in this world, not even spiritual beings, that can exist without Hashem constantly infusing it with life and energy. And the simplest thing would be for Hashem to say, you created it, you take care of it. Because all the malachim want to do is, they want to release their energy until they're spent. And what does that mean? It means bringing pain and suffering, or even death, to the person who sinned. And yet, in the second midah of compassion, Hashem actively holds back these malachim. He feeds them so that they shouldn't release their pent-up energy on us. I have 5 sons, Baruch Hashem, and my little girl was an only girl for many years. And I remember one year, Pesach, I just went all out, and I just loved this designer dress. I think it was a Carolyn Herrera. It was beautifully made, and the colors were gorgeous, and it was so vibrant. And I paid a fortune, and I bought her the dress, and I even bought her the matching shoes, and they even had matching hair accessories. Oh my gosh. She looked stunning, and she was wearing like, I don't know how many thousands of dollars worth of clothes. I never do it. I think that was like the first and last time. Anyway, so I was still getting ready, and I said, why don't you go outside, sweetheart, sit on the bench? I'm sure there are people passing by and, just look pretty. And she had this blonde, curly, beautiful hair. She was a beautiful little girl. So she's outside. I'm indoors doing my thing. And I come out, 20 minutes later, finally all ready to leave. And she stands up from the bench, and we both gasp at the same time, because we both heard the sound of this like rip. Something caught onto her dress, and the whole back of her dress had this huge hole in it. So she's standing there waiting for my reaction. I'm standing there. I've never spent so much money on a dress. I've never done it before. I will never do it again. Come on, the one time that I do it, this is what has to happen. I was like, really, just, I don't know what to do with myself. So I told her to go inside and to change into something else. And then it was later that week that I learned, there's a Gemara that says that when a destructive angel tries to get into a person, Hashem in his kindness allows that angel to hurt the outside of us, which is the clothing, to tear instead and cause us pain, or a car to get damaged so that it should not actually hurt the person. So that brought me some relief. There were no seams on the dress. I couldn't even sew it up. That was the beauty of it, that it was just like cut out of one piece of fabric. But it taught me a lesson. Which reminds me, there's this other great story about this woman who went to the Lubavitcher Rebbe because she said, like, for the past couple of weeks, these like weird random things have been happening to me. Nothing major, like nobody, is badly hurt, but I don't know, my son fell and got a cast, and then my daughter really like hurt herself so badly she lost a tooth, and then my husband was like in this minor fender bender, and then I lost a check that I wasn't able to retrieve. And I don't know, like in the beginning we thought it was just random and nothing, but these things just like keep on happening, and until something bad really happens, like she came to ask Lubavitcher Rebbe for a bracha, or what could this could possibly mean. So he says, well, what changes have you made in your house recently? And she's like, none that I could think of. We're very routined. The kids are all in school. We're still holding down the same jobs. I didn't even get a new lease on my car. Like, really nothing I could think of. I mean, I didn't even like change the brand of my detergent, like nothing. So he's like, I want you to go home, talk to your family about it, see if anybody can come up with a recent change that has happened in the house, something different, anything, even if it seems minor, come back and let me know. So she goes home and she calls a little family meeting, and they're all thinking, you know, her daughter got a new headband, but that's like as far, like they really can't think of anything. And then all of a sudden her son says, hey, Ma, 1 second. There is a small change. I mean, I can't imagine that this is it, but maybe go back to the Rebbe and discuss it with him. So she makes an appointment. She goes back. She sits down in front of the Lubavitcher Rebbe and she says, I mean, it's so insignificant, but you told me anything, so I'm here to share. So she says, right at the entranceway of the house, I had like a buffet table, a small table, and I happen to like crystal miniatures, the Swarovski crystals. Like that's what my kids buy me for my birthday or my anniversary. And they just kept on breaking. Like anytime anybody was in a rush, or, you know, the coat, they were putting on their coat and, you know, like a crystal would just fall down and shatter. And I don't know, it was just happening so often. I was like, you know, my crystals are really breaking. Like I'm down to very few of them. So I removed them and stuck them in the china closet so they shouldn't break. And the Rebbe looks at her and he says, that's your answer. Every time something was supposed to happen to you, Hashem in his rachamim made sure it happened to one of the crystals, that should cause you aggravation. He said, go home and put them back in your foyer and you'll see that these little mishaps and aggravations will stop. You know, I say this over and over. We're so limited. We have such limited vision. We know so little of what goes on in this world. The malachim that we create, of course we create good malachim when we do mitzvahs and good deeds. But unfortunately, we also create these destructive malachim when we sin. And they need to be sustained because they have so much pent up energy that they want to release and cause damage and harm and death. And Hashem, in his second midah of compassion, doesn't allow that. He feeds the malachim. He allows them very minor acts of destruction because he believes in us. He waits patiently for us to do tshuva. So I have a friend, I'll call her Shani, and she was telling me that she had a friend over one Shabbos afternoon, and between the two of them, they had a bunch of little kids. And her friend's son was, came in from outdoors with a ball in his hand. And Shani's like, oh, no ball playing in the house. And he starts playing ball. And Shani's thinking to herself, mother, you're sitting right there. Your son is playing ball. I have a rule, no ball playing in the house. Can you stop telling him to play ball? But the mother doesn't say anything. She's not interested in disciplining her son. And Shani is getting really upset. He's playing ball in the house. She says it more than once. And of course, a few minutes later, that ball crashes onto her buffet and two of her beautiful, expensive Baccarat butterflies fall and shatter. And she's really upset about it. She didn't ask for something crazy. Children should not be playing ball in the house. Why didn't you tell your kid not to play ball in the house? So she's very distraught about it, and and of course his mother's like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. She wants to get a broom, she sweeps it up. She's like, I'm so sorry, don't worry about it. We'll totally, replace it. Okay. So Sunday, Shani's talking to her friend, and her friend's like, "Do you want to meet for sushi?" And she's like, "Yeah, you know what? As a matter of fact, it's actually right near the store where I bought the baccarat butterflies. So we can stop in after." So they meet for sushi, but they don't stop in to the store. Her friend like doesn't even mention it. And then later on that week, they're talking again. So Shani just puts it in again, and she's like, "By the way, with the baccarat butterflies, my in-laws are going to be coming for Shabbos, and she's very into this collection. That's why I have so many. She's bought me some, and I bought some. So in case you forgot, it was like the blue one and the clear one that broke." So her friend's like, "Oh yeah, about that." So my husband asked his Rav, and the Rav said that we are actually, according to halacha, not responsible when one of our children causes damage. Like, children tend to do that, and as his parents, we're not responsible. I feel a little bad about it, so I know that they sell the imitations, like in Amazing Savings, Closeout Connection. I'm happy to buy those. I did not know that they were so ridiculously expensive. And Shani hangs up the phone, and she's like really upset about it. I told him not to play ball. Like, you didn't say anything about it. Like, I'm sorry, but yeah, they are ridiculously expensive, but that's not for you to judge. That's my thing, and you should be replacing it. And Shani told me, she's like, I knew that I would be so aggravated every time I looked at my collection. I actually went out and I just rebought them so that not every time I look at my buffet and I see those missing butterflies, I should be upset all over again. And I knew my in-laws were coming and they would notice, my mother-in-law would notice it, and then it would get into like Lashon Hara, whatever. I just didn't say anything. And I just rebought them. How huge is that? I was just talking to Fegi Ashkenazi, and she was telling me how this person she was speaking to is donating a huge amount of money to build a mikveh in the Merit, somebody to have a Yeshua, which is so awesome, and we need those, and people should do that. But for those of us who can't, it's right here. This is our Yeshua. Learning the Sefer, incorporating the Sefer into our lives is guaranteed to bring tremendous Yeshuas into our life. So, the midah of patience and compassion translates to us as the following: that when someone wrongs us and we feel the urge to set matters straight and to make the perpetrator pay, or at least give him a piece of our mind, and our emotions overtake our logic, can we avoid an immediate, impulsive reaction? Can we calm down? Can we give the matter time to percolate? And once we've reached a point where we can deal with the problem logically, then we can implement this midah. I have a nephew who is just this really incredible guy. And I spent Shabbos there by my sister's house, and he was telling me that his stepmother, who he's not especially close to, had been saying that for her birthday, she really wanted a certain massage chair. And my nephew is like pretty good on the computer, and he agreed with all his siblings. Most of his siblings are married. So it's her children from a previous marriage, and then it's his siblings. So there's quite a few of them. And they agreed between all of them that for her birthday, they would buy her this massage chair. So my nephew went online and he found the massage chair that she really wanted. And then he actually found on a different site that was much cheaper, and they were willing to price match, but they were willing to price match on the condition that it was final sale. And knowing that this was the chair she wanted, my nephew felt totally comfortable. He sent out a text, checking in. Everybody's willing to chip in for it. It's expensive. It's a few $100s. And they all said yeah, and that was it. So he ordered it. It took a little while to come, and it was ordered directly to her house. And they were going over to her house with a birthday cake and to present her with the chair. So, he put down the group chat, everybody should bring whatever amount of money it was that they had agreed on, I don't know, close to $100 each. And slowly the texts start coming back of, no, I changed my mind. Maybe we could get something cheaper. I don't really have the money right now. Can we just hold off on this gift? So he's like, no, we agreed on it. I ordered it. It's final sale. So we're going to deliver it to our house. It's actually in the garage. Like, no, it's already there. This is what everybody agreed on. Please, whoever's chipping in, just please make sure to bring the money when you come. So he says, Shady, I get to the house, and out of her children, nobody chipped in. And out of my siblings, 2 of them chipped in. And so I just gave the rest of the money. And I'm like, yikes. How did that feel for you? And he's like, I wasn't thrilled, but you know what? It was okay. Like, I was happy that she was getting it. She deserves it. She works hard. I'm okay with it. He said, it took me a little more strength to do, that on the birthday card, I signed all of our names. And I look at him and I was like, that is so big. That is so big. For those of us that can't build mikvahs all over the world and need Yeshuas for ourselves, for the people in our lives, this is what it's all about. This is what it takes, because it's hard and it's huge. So the problem that you're facing needs to be resolved. Maybe somebody owes you money. Maybe you have a coworker who's stealing your credit. Maybe you have a neighbor who's using your garbage bins, and then you got a ticket from the Department of Sanitation because of it. The problem is real and it needs to be addressed. We're not saying it doesn't. But if Hashem could look at every Jew, no matter how far gone he seems, and he can say, I'm holding off. I'm holding his destructive angel because I believe in him. I know he's going to come around. Then we too can do that. So it's not about forfeiting your claim or letting the person off the hook. It's about dealing with the problem in a compassionate way instead of hot-headed emotions. So many times when something happens, it so much depends on the place that we're at. It's triggering from way before. A comment could be innocent and seem like it's stinging us because it's triggering us. I was standing once on the corner of 13th Avenue and 50th Street talking to a friend, and it was the middle of the winter, and somebody passed by, and she's like, Shady, no way. I cannot believe you're wearing that scarf. My son wanted it. And I'm like, over my dead body, that is an ugly scarf. I am not buying that scarf for you. All right, great to see you. Bye. And she walks away. So I continue talking to my friend, and my friend's like, whoa, one second, hold on. What just happened? And I was like, what? She's like, she really insulted you. She insulted your scarf. She insinuated that it's a men's scarf. She said that it was disgusting. Like, hello, did you not see that? I was like, no, I have absolutely no issue with it. It's her thing. She didn't like it. I take no offense to it. Totally not. But I remember once backing out of my driveway, and I'm trying to get out, and there's a car that won't let me get out, and he starts honking me like crazy. And I was having such a hard day, and I'd been blamed unfairly for something I didn't do, and that honking made me cry. And I was like, you too? Come on, I need a break here. Come on. Even strangers are honking at me and just won't let me live. It's never an isolated incident. It's always so much more. It's always in the place that we're at now. It's always something that happened before today, that started this, that created this. So when I was a little girl, very little, I was in first grade actually. I don't have a good memory, but I remember this very clearly. I started throwing a fit that I'm not going to school. I'm not going to school, I'm not going to school, I'm not going to school. I refused to go to school. And my mother didn't know what to do with me. Here I am, one of 5 girls. She wanted me in school, no matter what. If I wasn't with a raging fever, I was going to school. And I was determined that I was not going to school. And back then, there weren't like these red flags like there are now. And I was like, just go to school, Starts with the bribing. Nothing helps. I'm not going to school. So finally she comes to my bed at night and she sits down next to me and she says, Shavy, tell me what's going on. Why don't you want to go to school? And in my very small, underdeveloped 6-year-old brain, this is what I tell her. I said, Ma, I'm the first one on the bus in the morning. And the second person on the bus is in my class and she comes into my seat. I'm going to call her Rivka. So Rivka sits in my seat and she doesn't eat breakfast before she comes. And she has this terrible, terrible breath. And I can't stand it. Now, my friends, what I didn't know then, but I know now, is that I have an extra sensitive nose. Like, I am a sniffer. I just am very sensitive to smell. I didn't know that back then. But when Rivka would come onto the bus and sit right near me and start talking to me with her bad breath, she hadn't brushed her teeth, she hadn't had anything to drink or eat. It was so overwhelming for me. So my mother, God bless her, instead of saying, well, why don't you take a pack of candies and just pop one in her mouth every morning, she went the other route that she usually takes, which usually works. And she's like, you should really talk to her about it. Why don't you have a conversation with her and explain to her that maybe she could brush her teeth or have something to eat before she gets onto the bus. Now, 6-year-old little me, if this is what my mother's telling me to do, that's exactly what I'm going to do. So the next morning, I get onto the bus all confident, and Rivka sits down next to me and opens her mouth, and I'm like, whoa! And I tell her, I don't remember what I said. I don't remember how I said it. But whatever I said did not go over well. Now again, what I did not know then, but I know now, is that Rivka was born after 7 boys. What I didn't know then, but I know now, is that Rivka's father was a huge supporter of the school. So Rivka went home, told her mother, I don't know what she told her, but made me sound like this terrible, horrible, horrific person. Her mother promptly called the school and insisted that I be thrown out of school immediately, which apparently they told her that they're not going to throw me out, but they will take care of the situation, that it should never happen again. And from that day on, I was labeled as this terrible girl with horrible middos. And how do I know that? Because when I was in 4th or 5th grade, I had a teacher who called me out and she says, Shavy, I need to tell you, we were warned about you, that you're a terrible person and you need to be punished properly. But I don't see that. I think actually that you have beautiful middos, so don't listen to what they say. When I was in 8th grade, the way it worked back then was that the class had to vote on who would be GO president. And I remember the principal coming in and saying, I'm sorry, girls, but you're going to have to re-vote because the girl that you voted for certainly is not deserving. And everybody had told me that they were voting for me, and I didn't understand what was going on. But what I learned was that, why am I being accused of something? Again, once I got a little older and I understood a little bit more, don't accuse me of something that I didn't do. You only heard one side of the story. And that for me is my trigger. To me, that's betrayal. Don't do that. So maybe if somebody makes a comment to you, it'll be okay to you, just like the scarf was okay to me. But don't ever accuse me of something without hearing my version first, because that's something that stayed with me for years. And I really had to work through. So it's never an isolated moment or instant. It's something that starts so much earlier on. When I was doing this workshop with the women in Fagie's house, one of the women shared with us that when she was in 8th grade, she went to a Beis Yaakov style school where there were a lot of students. And her father, who was a child of a Holocaust survivor, maybe he himself was a Holocaust survivor, I don't remember, did not allow her to go on their 8th grade graduation trip. He felt it wasn't safe, it wasn't proper for girls to be away overnight without proper supervision, and no matter how many times she begged and pleaded, he didn't let her go. And as she was telling this to us, she started crying, and she said that pain is still there. And I looked at her and I said, and how does that translate to you now? I mean, this is somebody who is married off children. I said, is it possible that sometimes when people do things without including you, it's really, really hard for you? Maybe more than something else that's done? Or maybe even more so for you than for other people? Because that is still with you? So my friends, I want you to take this moment to think about it. What is it that happens in your life that because of your triggers makes the wound so much deeper? Can we find that place? Can we have compassion for ourselves? Can we recognize that perhaps it's not as destructive as the person? Repeat. Can we recognize that perhaps it seems so much more destructive than it really is because of that trigger? So, going back to this midah, where Hashem holds off, feeds our destructive angels, waits for us, because he knows that we have the ability and we have the capacity to make things right, to do tshuva. How can we do that for others? So this morning, my daughter wakes up and says, Ma, can you make me chocolate chip pancakes? And I'm like, chocolate chip pancakes? No, not this morning. You know why not this morning? Because I kept on telling everybody, you need to go to sleep early. We have a vart the next day. Did everybody go to sleep early? No, nobody went. I went to sleep early. Nobody else went to sleep early. There was so much noise going on in the house. And not only that, I woke up early to this bright, bright light. And I don't mean the sun. I mean that every single light in the entire house had been left open. Every bathroom light, the front, the back of the house, the basement lights, every closet light, every light had been left open. So already I'm annoyed. The kids are groggy and they wake up late because they went to sleep so late, and she wants chocolate chip pancakes. No, you don't deserve chocolate chip pancakes. But my little girl with her bangs and her big eyes looks at me and she's like, but Ma, you always say that every day is a cause for celebration and is a special day. And I'm like, okay, chocolate chip pancakes it is. So I'm making the chocolate chip pancakes, and then we hear the bus outside. Remember? Because everybody's running late because everybody went to sleep so late. So I run outside, show the bus driver to wait, run back inside, put the chocolate chip pancakes on a plate. She's holding her briefcase in one hand. She's holding her brush in the other hand. She runs out. The rest of the kids trail behind her. And I watch as I'm standing on the porch waving, bye, bye. I watch as each chocolate chip pancake slowly slides off her plate. So by the time she gets onto the bus, there are no chocolate chip pancakes left on that plate. And I'm like, okay. I go back inside, close the door, make myself a hot cup of coffee, and my phone rings. Who is it? My daughter. Where are you calling from? Oh, Mom, yeah, I'm calling you on the bus. I borrowed somebody's cell phone. What? Why do girls have cell phones on the bus? I mean, this is primary school. Hello? Yeah, so Ma, I asked the bus driver if he would come around again, because sometimes on his route he passes the house again. Can you make me another batch of chocolate chip pancakes? I'm like, what? The first ones all fell on the floor. You want to make another batch of chocolate chip pancakes? I take a deep breath. I think to myself, can I have some compassion for my little girl who didn't eat breakfast? And I'm like, sure, honey. So I make another batch of chocolate chip pancakes. And then I go outside and I stand there on the curb. I even tuck in a little note that says, I love you, sweetheart. And I'm waiting for the bus to come, except that it never does. So after 20 minutes of standing there, I turn around, I go back home, I sit down, I eat all the chocolate chip pancakes. And I'm thinking to myself, I can't build a mikvah for someone, but I can do this. I can have compassion in my life. I can try to emulate HaKadosh Baruch Hu, who waits patiently for us. I can have patience. I can pour my love and compassion into somebody who needs it. So, by Fagi, one of the women brought out a very good point. And she said, I have a question, Shavi. Sometimes it could be at 11:30 at night, and my bell rings, and it's somebody that's coming around collecting for tzedakah. And first of all, I don't think they should be ringing my bell at 11:30 at night. But second of all, what does compassion mean then? Because they're doing something wrong, should I be getting out of bed and giving them tzedakah? Like, what about boundaries? What's your opinion on this? So I gave this little handout, and I'm going to read it to you here. And if you want a copy of it, then go ahead and just put a comment after this video with your email address, and I'll send you a copy. It's called The Same Story, Different Perspectives. Same story, different perspectives. It's adapted from Rebbetzin Tzipora Heller Gottlieb, who is just like awesome. If you've never heard her speak, oh my gosh, totally Google her. You can find her on Torah anytime. Do not listen to her when you're falling asleep. You need to be sharp to hear her. She's fabulous. The Thursday night knocking began. Today it started at 11:30. Last week it had started at 9:30. The week before that it had begun even earlier. It was always to borrow something. Sometimes it was eggs or sugar. Over the years, Bina had borrowed recipes, vacuum cleaners, white shirts, headbands, orange juice, and more things that Esther could possibly remember. Although the items were sometimes returned, it was so draining to keep on giving week after week. Esther had had enough. Her neighbor Bina was a taker, emotionally draining Esther with her endless neediness. A healthy person would not open the door, Esther told herself. If I had better self-esteem, I would let her knock. If I really respected myself, I wouldn't need to please people to feel okay. I would just give myself permission to ignore the endless knocking. She was right. She felt depleted and needed her energy for her real life. She had a family and parents to care for. They were her priorities. Her neighbor Bina was a needy person who didn't know when to stop. In her more honest moments, she told herself the truth. Her resentment wasn't about the few minutes it took to hand over the egg slicer or the bottle of Murphy oil. Nothing about her life was going to change if she stopped opening the door. It was just the feeling of being drained again, of being used, that made her dread the familiar knock. Her sister Shayna had an entirely different outlook. She wanted the fulfillment that comes from only giving. Just after cleaning up the entire kitchen spotlessly, she made a mess by baking a cake for her neighbor who had just had a baby. The neighbors called her first because they knew she would do it. And she was thrilled to do it. How would Esther react if she got the call to bake a cake right after cleaning up? The tricky part of the two sisters is that Esther is not necessarily wrong because Shayna is right. The Gemara tells us that when a gift is given against the will of the giver, it is no longer a gift. I want to repeat that. When the Gemara tells us that when a gift is given against the will of the giver, it is no longer a gift. You can only be a giver if you choose to be one. Shayna was a giver. Esther was not. She chose the role of victim. She chose to feel that she was robbed and used time after time. And the Rambam explains to us why. The Moreh Nevuchim says that giving only connects you to Hashem when it comes from a place of compassion and generosity, when it comes from a place of self-interest, such as a need for respect or payback. The act is not connecting you to Hashem. The neshama longs for connection to Hashem. There's a reason Esther feels depleted. She's giving only to get back. This is closer to bookkeeping than it is to the chesed of Avraham Avinu we try to emulate. It leaves you dry, disconnected, and resentful. You don't have to choose between being an Esther or a Shana. You can and should be you. Hashem gave you the talents, abilities, and opportunities to have the kind of fulfillment that only comes when you're really a giver. For that reason, it's critical that you be aware of His gifts to you. If you're creative, rejoice that you have the opportunity to lend it to another Yid. It may be the only reason why you have it, just so that you can share it. The same as with time, intellectual ability, sensitivity, talents. Use these gifts to help others. You may have the nature of Esther, but you can choose to be more like Shana. Daven for help and change your frame of mind. And only then will you truly be able to give with compassion and love. I told this woman that asked the question about the tzedakah collector at 11:30 at night. Some days, maybe you can stretch. Maybe you're still dressed. It's annoying. You don't like it. You don't think it should be done. But can you find compassion and love and extend yourself? And then some days the answer is no. You're already in bed. You're tired. You don't have tzedakah. There's no right answer. There is no one-size-fits-all answer, because we all have our breaking point, and we all have the place that we can extend and the place where we just can't. We're all different, but we need to know the truth. Only we know the truth, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu knows the truth. I shared with the crowd the following two scenarios. So during the summer, this woman reached out to you. I'll call her Mrs. Frisch, and she is the mother of a large family. And it was at the end of the summer, and most of her married children stayed by her over the summer, but she told everybody very clearly that the last week of the summer, everybody needs to go home. Her cleaning lady is not going to be there the last Shabbos, and she's planning on leaving right after Shabbos, early Sunday morning. So she instructed her cleaning lady to do all the linens before and wash everything really well. She said, I'm going to be eating out of plastic, just me and Tati, so no guest over Shabbos. I want everything done before so that I can literally just minimally clean up and be ready to go. And they understood, and they said, okay. So who had been staying by her packed up and left early. So she says, okay, Shady, so here's my question. It's Thursday night, and my husband's chavrisa just called. He had rented out his bungalow to somebody for the summer because he wants to take his family on a trip to Eretz Yisrael for Sukkot. So he figured that's where he'll get the funds from. And his kids all just came home from camp, and they're really, really upset because they aren't going to be in the bungalow colony at all, all summer, and they would just love to be able to go away for one Shabbos. So his chavrisa called and asked if they can come to me for Shabbos. What do you think? So I said, what do I think? It's not what do I think, it's what do you think? Well, let's look at this. We always start with ourselves. How negatively will it impact you? I asked Mrs. Frisch. So she said, totally not. Like, I'm a hard worker. I've always had a large family. If they come, it's fine. Is it easier that they don't come? Yeah, but you know what? I'll tell everybody to strip their own linen. I'll wash it, put it back on the bed. It's not the end of the world. I said, okay, what about your husband? So she's like, oh my gosh, my husband will be thrilled to spend a whole Shabbos with his chavrisa. They're just going to sit and learn the whole time. I'm like, okay, what about your kids? Are they going to be resentful that they can't come, but this random family could come? She's like, no, they know them. They'll be happy for them. They were here a whole summer. It's fine. So I looked at her and I said, Mrs. Frisch, our father was Avraham Avinu. Doing chesed is not always easy. Having compassion means that we really need to look hard and find a place and really extend ourselves. Go for it. Open up that channel of Rachamim. Do it. And she did. And they had a wonderful Shabbos. Here's story number 2. So there's a woman who's rushing to the airport. She has all the kids in the car. She ordered pizza. They ordered in a pie and fries and some drinks. And she goes to the pizza store and she's like, "Hi, I'm sorry. I have everybody waiting in the car. I just want to pick up my order." And the guy's like, "Lady, everybody's here to pick up their order. Get him back of the line." So she goes to the back of the line and she's like on shpilkus. She's like, "Oh my gosh." And they keep on calling her, Ma. Her husband's like, "We're going to miss that flight. Hurry up. Maybe just leave the pizza there." She's like, "No, the kids are going to be starving and we already paid for it. Okay, I only have 2 more people ahead of me." Finally, it's her turn. She gets there and she opens her mouth to tell them about her order when a guy slips in right in front of her. And he's like, "Excuse me, I came to pick up my order." So she's like, "Excuse me, sir." And then she notices that he has this long stick and that he's blind. So she's taken aback. She takes a step back. Her heart fills with compassion. And she lets him get his order. And then she gets her order and quickly leaves the pizza store. And as soon as she leaves, there's somebody standing outside. He's leaning against the wall, he's smoking, and he says, "Oh, so the guy got you too?" She's like, "Excuse me?" "Yeah, I saw him. He takes his mother's walking stick, puts on a pair of glasses. His mother is the one who's blind. And whenever he doesn't want to wait online in the pizza store, he just cuts in front and pretends he's blind, and everybody has so much compassion on him." And you are like fuming. Like, what? What audacity. Using his mother's poor illness, taking advantage of the situation, taking advantage of people. What a con artist. Would you let him go in front of you the next time? No. This Midas HaRachamim, this Sefer, is not saying be stepped on, be trampled on, become a nobody, be a nobody, let yourself go through abuse. It's not what it's saying. It's saying, can you find a place of strength to show that extra compassion when applicable? It's not saying to just let the scam artists get away with it. It's saying, can you come from a place of regulation instead of completely out of control? There is a woman, a Rebbitzin actually, in our community. And she's the one who told me the story. She said that she went, in the beginning of June, she went upstate for Shabbos. And oh my gosh, K'nai Nahara, I think she has at least 12 daughters, maybe even more. Where she has the strength from, I don't know. And they all look fabulous. Oh my gosh, Hashem should just give her kayach. So it's a beautiful weekend. She's going up with her husband, who's a Rav. Of course, all the girls, all the married kids want to come with her. And she's like, just fight it out between all of you and you tell me who's coming. So she ends up going up with quite a lot of couples because K'nai Nahara, a lot of them are married, but her unit has a lot of bedrooms. And they rent the Sprinter and all the couples are there in the Sprinter and they get there and it's very late and they're very tired and there was a lot of traffic. And they all walk in together and she flips open the light switch and they stand there and they are like horrified. It seems as if raccoons or cats or an animal with claws had gotten into her unit and destroyed it. The couch is completely ripped apart and the stuffings are coming out. They're like scratch marks on the wall. It's in shambles. Anything that was left on the counter has fallen off and is shattered. They're standing there like it looks terrible. And she remembers she had lent the unit to somebody else 2 weeks before and told them, make sure that every single window and door is closed. Apparently, they did not make sure. Apparently, something was left open, which it was, she saw later on, and allowed the animals to get in and completely destroy her house. She said she stood there and everybody was quiet. And she said, Rabbona Shalom, as many animals as were in my house, that's how many brachas you should bless us with. She says, Shavi, that year, every one of my married children had a child, including my oldest daughter, who had been married for 9 years and was childless. And this little girl that you thought was my granddaughter is not my granddaughter, because I too was blessed with another little girl. What the Sefer teaches us is these Midas Harachamim are channels that we can bring down tremendous bracha and abundance if we can find it in our heart to emulate Hashem. We all have that capacity. So let's do it. Thank you for listening.
And together, we can change the world.